Hello, my name is Yeji, otherwise known as AnMadeCo, here on YouTube and on Instagram. Today, I want to go over everything I knit in November, as well as talk about a few plans and acquisitions at the very end. And before we talk about everything I made in November, I want to announce the giveaway winner from my last sit-down video of my knitting must-haves. And the winner is Kathy Kofnor3849. So Kathy, if you're watching this, please message me on Instagram at anmade.co, or you could always email me using the description link that's below. And now jumping into everything that I made in November, as with all of my other monthly makes videos, anything that I've already talked about in detail in a sit-down video, namely the knitting must-haves video, I'll just have the name as well as a picture and the designer name. And we are sitting in my living room today in front of my Christmas tree and my stockings, and I'm just so happy to be here. First in November, I finished Viima Beanie by Veera Välimäki, and I think I kept calling it Vilma Beanie because I mistook, there are two I's in Viima and I mistook one for an L, so it's the Viima Beanie by Veera Välimäki. Super happy to have completed it, and that's a gift for my mom. And the second item I finished is Anacortes Pullover by Michelle Frazetta. And this is a gift for my husband. I've been meaning to make this pullover for a while, so I was super happy to have completed that this month as well. So those are all the items that I've already talked about, so not a ton of objects, but in this video, I have quite a few objects to share. I've made a lot of small projects, but first we'll talk about what I'm currently wearing. I'm wearing Lakes Pullover by Ozetta, and this is the final item in my Make 9 list, and I did a whole Make 9 recap if you'd like to watch that. For this sweater, I knit a size small, which is the second size, and I used the recommended needle size of US 8, a 5mm needle, and the yarn I use for it is Kelborn Woolen Scout in the color Charcoal Heather, which is number 26, held with Madeline Tosh Silk Cloud in the color Abyss. I will stand up close so that you could see the colors, because even though it is black, because there are two different types of black, I think it kind of creates a slight depth to it, and I really love the sweater and just the fabric that it created on those US 8 5mm needles. I've said this before, but I don't have a viewfinder, so when I stand up, I'm kind of going at it blind. I'm not sure if I'm completely on screen, but this is what the sweater looks like. There is quite a bit of positive ease. It is an oversized sweater, so the recommended ease, I think positive ease is in the 10-inch range, and it goes from a 40-inch to a 67.5 inches in terms of finished bust circumference. And so I just love how it looks. This sweater is so beautiful. I love the silk cloud, and I did the Italian bind off on the hem as well as the sleeves. The sleeves I did go down in needle size to a US 5, even though I wasn't supposed to, but I think that it's okay that it happened. And I also love how it looks in the back as well. There's a lot of drape to it. It is oversized, it's very comfy, and the collar is also high, and I just love how it sits. First, I was worried that the collar would flare out, but it seems to be sitting really nicely. And if it does ever stretch out, then I could always add an elastic to it. And I've only made a couple of very, very minor modifications to the sweater. The first being that I did go down in needle sizes for the cuff just because I wasn't paying attention, and I think it's fine in the way it fits, and I think that I like that it doesn't flare out, and I think that if you knit it to the pattern it wouldn't flare out because you are supposed to put 4 inches. I put just over 2 and a bit, and so my cuffs are smaller in terms of the number of ribbing or the number of rows that I did for ribbing. For my size, you're supposed to do 8 inches of stockinette after joining in the round, and then you do 4 inches of ribbing. I decided to do 9 inches of stockinette and 3 inches of ribbing just because I wanted a little less ribbing, but I wanted the same length. I love how this fits, and I just love everything about this whole sweater. I think that the sweater pattern was quite straightforward. I enjoyed making it. It does have a lot of ends though, because it is a saddle shoulder construction. You make the saddles first, and then you pick up from the ends, the edges of the square or the rectangle that you make. And so you have live stitches as well. And so there are quite a few ends. There were around 20. And what you do is you make your saddles first, you join the two saddles, you make your drop shoulder in the back, and then you pick up for the front, do some German short row shaping, and you later on join everything, and it continues down. I have a whole project video about it, and I talk about each process as I was going through it if you are kind of confused on what a saddle shoulder construction looks like. However, there is a little diagram in the pattern as well, and I thought that that made it super clear if you are confused on how the whole construction works. And I think that it's a beautiful construction. I think after I posted the video about it, a lot of people also said that they really like the Lakes Pullover, the way it looks, the way it fits on their body as well. So I'd highly recommend this pattern. And the next 5 objects are all small projects. The first one I don't have here to show you. The first being Marie Clutch by Petite Knit. And I love making this. It was a really great idea. Emily from Tea Cozy Yarn Shop asked me to make it, and she said that this was a higher priority than the other plan that I'll talk about. And I'm so happy that I was able to make it because it was such a fun, festive little knit, and I just love the details that went into it. So the Marie Clutch comes in 2 sizes. I knit the size small, and it uses 2 needle sizes, which is a US 1.5 as well as a US 2.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle as well as a 3 millimeter needle. And so I loved making this. You start off with the bottom, and the bottom is double knit, and then you pick up for the sides and you knit the clutch, the body of the clutch in the round, and then you do the 2 plackets for the zippers as a double knit as well, but from each side. And so you have the tabs and you have the plackets. So there are quite a few pieces and components to it, but it was really fun to knit and I just really enjoyed my time. And the yarn that I used for this project was of course provided by Tea Cozy Yarn Shop, was chosen by Emily of Tea Cozy Yarn Shop. And it is Sandscarn Baby Wool in the color 2752. Cafe Latte, as well as held with Sandscarn Palette in the color 2242 Gold Digger. And I only held palette for the body of the clutch. I didn't hold it for the double knitting portion just because I started and I tried, but the little sequins were a little too much for the small needle size. But held in the body, I think that it was really beautiful. Marie Clutch originally it's a garter slip stitch pattern, so there is texture. However, with the sequins, some of the texture kind of gets hidden, but I think that it's nice that when you do see some of the texture, you can see the texture with the sequins and it doesn't feel too overwhelming. I have to say though, for some of the parts, I did squeeze the sequins from the wrong side to the right side whenever I saw a little bit of a right side patch that didn't have any sequin on it. And I am in the middle of filming a small projects vlog and compiling all of the small projects I've been making into a vlog. I think that video will probably go up after this, so I will definitely have it up for you. And transitioning into more festive makes, I also completed a couple of Christmas stockings. So this one's for my sister and this one's for my brother-in-law. And this is Woodland Stockings Big Animals by Allison Lutz. And there are 2 versions of Woodland Stockings. The original version, which has the bunny, the squirrel, as well as the bird in it, is part of her version that came out 2 years ago. And last year she released a big animal version, and these 2 animals specifically are from the big animals version. And so my sister requested the fox, which I made for her, and then her husband to be in the moose, and she wanted these colorways. I didn't have to buy more colors for this. This is Knit Picks Brava worsted in the color white, wine, and Dublin. And I think that it was perfect, the amounts that I had. However, I did buy more colors just in case in the future my sister decides to expand her family or somebody decides to adopt a pet, or you never know what's going to happen, or something happens to the stockings. So this is 100% acrylic yarn, which I love to make stockings with just because I find that they're a little more hardy. And I did catch my floats every 3 to 4 floats or 3 to 4 stitches, and so it is quite caught. I didn't line them. I don't find the need to line my stockings, especially because they are made with acrylic yarn, but also we don't put anything super heavy in stockings for these ones specifically. And so I'm not sure what my sister will do, but hopefully they last for her as well. So last year I knit these 4 stockings for my family, so it was really exciting to get back into this pattern. I just love it. It's such a beautiful pattern, and the moose was a new one, so I really was excited to knit that. The fox also came out really beautifully. I just love these colors as well as just this patterning. The heel is a fake-ish faux short row heel, but it is still a good heel, and the big animals have smaller chevrons on the top compared to the original. There aren't too many differences from the original, but I think that some of the patterning might have slightly changed. One thing I wanted to mention is that for the moose, I accidentally put the heel on the other side, so the animals would have been facing each other, and I don't think it would have mattered as much if it was just the 2 of them, but if they do decide to expand their family in the future, then I wanted to make sure that all the animals were facing the same way. So what I actually did was I tinked back from here and I just grafted the entire foot as well as the heel portion on the other side. So it was like this before, and then I grafted it back here, and you can kind of tell if you look closely that there is a line for grafting, but I think that if it's hanging out then you wouldn't be able to tell if I didn't tell you. I kept asking my husband if he could tell, but he couldn't. And so I think it's okay. So I grafted the heel as well as the top of the foot. And I think that you can definitely tell if you are looking at it, if you just take time to observe it. But with it being more on a plain row compared to all the other patterning, I think that it's okay. And the foot portion was my least favorite portion of knitting it because the animals are the more fun part. I was happy to be able to find a solution that took only a couple hours compared to the maybe 3-4 hours it would have taken me to rip back the portion, the colorwork portion, and then to knit that again with the toe. And for these stockings, I find that I use around 75 to 80 grams of the white color and just over 50 grams, so usually 55 to 60 grams of the main color, which makes it so that you cannot get 2 stockings out of 1 ball of the main color for at least the Knit Picks Bravo worsted. So I'm really happy to have made these stockings for my sister and her husband this year. And I just love making stockings. I think 2 is a good number because by the end of the moose, I was kind of drained, especially with the mishap that I did. But I thought that it was really fun. And if I'm asked to make more stockings in the future, I'm sure that I'll enjoy it then as well. And next, as with all of my monthly makes, I have my monthly gnome. And this is my November gnome, which I decided to make in very Christmassy colors. And this was partly inspired by the Grinch, just because we've been watching Grinch over and over again in this house. And so for this, I made Noodles by Sarah Shira, of course. And the yarn that I use for it is West Yorkshire Spinner Signature 4-ply in the color 1000 Rouge for the red. The white is a Bear Dye For Me Happy Feet by Plymouth Yarn Co. And then the green, which I think is the star of this gnome, is Hazelnut's Artisan Sock in the color Caterpillar, and I held all of these fingering weights double on US 3.25 needles, and I'm so happy to have made another gnome this month. I'm also really happy that this is the second to last gnome and I only have 1 more gnome to make to complete out this year of gnomes, and I probably won't make gnomes every month next year. I have to think of what I want to do now, but it probably won't be a gnome every month. And so this one I'm also going to gift to my sister. She's taken all of my gnomes except for 2. One I've already found a home for, the other still is needing a home, but we'll see what happens. I think she'll like this one as well though, because she loves gifting gnomes to her family, and I love that she loves doing that. And very minor modifications that I made to this pattern are, after I was done decreasing for the top, I just made a little, maybe 8 rows of I-cord at the top just so that it kind of hangs over, and did the same thing as the nose here. And then I also just braided a little bit so that it looks like the top of a pajama hat, kind of a bauble. And so I'm really happy with the way this came out. I think it's just such a fun gnome, and I think that my next gnome in December is also going to be something a little more festive, and I'll probably make a simple gnome for that as well. And now for my final make of November. I just completed them yesterday. I put them in the wash a lot of times, and they are Sailor Slippers by Annie Germain, or Annie Sews. And these slippers, I am not 100% done, I think, because I think I'm going to put them in the wash just one more time as well as into the dryer. So I will just go through the slippers, but these slippers, they've been super viral. I feel like everybody's knitting this. I am knitting this as a part of TCYS Slip Along, which is Tea Cozy Yarn Shop Sailor Slipper Knit Along. And my friend Maddie at Buy a Thread Knits, as well as June at June.knits, also have been wanting to make these slippers, so I just took the chance and I made it. And the yarn I use for it is Istex Let Lopi in the color 58 dark gray, 1702 Milky Way. The green is called Frostbite, and I think that's 1417, and the red is 9414 Brick Red. And the red and the green I found on sale at Tea Cozy Yarn Shop, I think a month or 2 ago. And the Milky Way color Maddie has gifted me a while ago, and the gray color I had already from my husband's port jacket. So these were all done with scrap, or I guess very discounted yarns, which I love, and I am really happy with the way they turned out. However, there are a couple things I want to say about this pattern. So First, I made it with the recommended needle size, which is a US 11 at 8mm needle, and my slippers are quite felted. I did hold Istex Let Lopi Double, which would be the exact same recommendation and the thickness of drop snow that is recommended in the pattern. And so Let Lopi has 100 meters for 50 grams, whereas drop snow has 50 meters for 50 grams. So by holding Let Lopi Double, I was able to get gauge. However, my slippers did not felt a ton when I put it in my washing machine, and I do have a front loader, so it's probably my fault, but I had to wash these twice with hot water and then dry it once, and they were felted but not super felted. And then so I put it in the wash again in the front loader with a couple of towels on hot, and then I put it in the dryer with a couple of towels on hot, and this is what it came out to. I think I have to wash my towels, and I always wash my rags on sanitary cycle, so I think I'm going to stick these in just one last time with that and also dry it with that so they become a little smaller. These slippers, one of the things that everybody says is that they're very wide. If you are looking into making the slipper and you don't want something as wide, because I feel like my feet kind of slip around in them, I would definitely just take out a few stitches from the bottom and the top from the middle, and it won't ruin anything about how the slippers are shaped. So I think there are around maybe 10 stitches that you can play with, and I would probably take out 4 to 6, and I think you'll just have thinner slipper or more narrow slippers, but everything else will be the same. And they're very cute, and it was my first time intentionally felting a project, and everybody's washer cycle is very different. I highly recommend putting your slippers in with some towels, and I have wool balls, like felted balls for my dryer, but those also didn't help in felting these a lot. And so I think just multiple cycles of washing them, that's the only thing that really did it for it. And I am excited just to have this completed. I'm going to just run it once more, as I said, and I think that will make it completely to the size that I want. Currently, the feet, they do fit, and the width of it is quite wide, as I said, but it does fit. It's just that I wanted to be a little more snug on my feet. And June said that she will get some of those dots that you could put onto the bottom of the slippers to make it a little more safe for hardwood floors. And so I think that will also help as well. I am excited to have made this pattern. I'm not rushing out to make 5 more like a lot of other people are, but I did enjoy making it. It didn't take a long time to knit it. It's just waiting for the slippers to felt in the washing machine took a lot because I was running the cycle a lot of times. And so I think that Betsy from Maker's Night, Betsy Brown Knits, and she said that she also made hers with Let Lopi, and because it came out very hairy, she just took some scissors and just kind of snipped around it to make it a little less hairy. And I think after my final wash, once it's to the exact size that I want, that's what I will do as well. And so these are finished, but maybe not the complete form of what you would see. There is a slight difference for the left versus the right, and that's all in the pattern in terms of how many decreases you do. But you make 2 left slippers, I don't think it's the end of the world, because I think that you'll barely feel a difference on your foot. And one of the changes that's already suggested in the pattern that I also decided to do is just do 2 rows of each color instead of 4 rows, just because I had limited quantities. And the leftover yarn that I have from this slipper, I gave to June because she has yet to start on her slippers. The bottom, the soles took exactly 150 gram ball each, and then for the tops I use maybe around 80 grams of the Milky Way color, and just over halfway, maybe around 30 grams of each of the other colors. And so I think that it was perfect. I have more detailed notes in my Ravelry of exactly how much each of these I-cord sections took as well, if you are interested and if you are planning on making this with scrap yarn. I think it's a great scrap project. I think I could probably also hold my Holskarn Super Soft yarn, probably quadruple or even 6 ply, and also make this and have it be a super nice felted slipper as well. But I think right now I'm okay with just this one version, and maybe once I figure out the felting situation with my washer and dryer, then I'll be more inclined to make more of these in the future. So those are all my finished objects, and now we'll get into works in progress. I don't have a ton of works in progress. I just finished the sailor slippers, and so I am now starting another project. But first, I want to show you the progress I have on my Sibilla cardigan by Cookie the Knitter. This is almost done. I have to do now the button band and the collar, and I'm just waiting on Catherine to finish her body, and she's still working on the bodies. She's making a lot of the sailor slippers, and I think she's enjoying that process. And it is gift knitting season, and we said we would be done this by the end of December, so there's absolutely no rush. So for this, I completed the ribbing on the bottom as well as the ribbing on the cuffs, because I had to rip out my cuff until I realized that the new yarn I bought was the exact same dye lot as my old one. And I think I won't have enough yarn for the button band as well as the collar from my original purchasing of the Yale Holt Handworks garn, which is what this yarn is. And so I'm really happy I was able to make that purchase to buy some additional skeins. But I'll still have 1 and over a half left over probably. So I'll have to find another project for it, but this is really beautiful yarn. Just the basic details, I am making size medium, which is the 3rd size, and I used a US 8 of 5mm needle, which is 1 needle size down from the recommended 5.5mm needle for this project. And I will try it on and everything for you after I'm done the button band and after it's completed, but it's almost there, just not quite yet. The Sibilla cardigan is my only work in progress at the current moment. I've just wound yarn to start my next project, and my next project will be Loon Sweater by CM Knits, and this is also a gift for my younger sister, and this is a Christmas knit, a Christmas gift to her, so I have to get started on it and make it right away. I just bought the yarn yesterday at Tea Cozy Yarn Shop. This is Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock Worsted in the color October Sky, and these are 150 gram balls or hanks with 370 yards in it, so it's quite a big hank. And I bought 3 of these, and I also have a couple of other colors from my Strip Overload cardie to make the color work portion of it in. And so the Loon Sweater is a drop shoulder construction with a little bit of color work just on the chest panel, and the color work is knit flat. So for this sweater, I'll be knitting the size large, which is the 5th size, and I will also be using a US 6 of 4mm needle instead of the suggested US 7 of 4.5mm needle, because the gauge that is recommended in this sweater is a 20 stitch gauge for 4 inches, and a 4mm needle gets me 20 stitch gauge. And I think the yarn that's recommended in the pattern is also heavier worsted, and so I think they recommend knitting for olive heavy merino as well as Ella Ray worsted that's a little heavier weight. And so because this is a little thinner in terms of worsted weight, I think that the US 6 4mm needles will work better for this pattern, for this yarn. And so my main color will be an October Sky, and for the contrast colors, I'll be using Driftwood Heather as well as Midnight Sea, and the Midnight Sea will be the loon, the Driftwood Heather will be the panel. And I'm really excited to get started on this, and I think it's going to be a really exciting make because half of it is a little bit of color work, but most of it is just plain stockinette, so I can just go around and around. And my sister is the one that requested it, so I think she'll really like the end result. And my next plan is also a sweater, but this is a sample knit for Tea Cozy Yarn Shop. This is Astrid by Sandisgarn, and this is what it looks like. It's such a pretty sweater with a little bit of color work detailing. And this sweater actually comes with 2 instructions, one to knit top down, the other to do bottom up. I am going to be doing the top down version, and this is done on US 4 3.5mm needle, and it's holding Tin Pure Gint as well as silk mohair. So I have all the yarn here, and I won't pull it out or anything yet, but I will get into details of it as soon as I start. I plan on making, of course, a project video with it, as well as probably the next sit down video that I make that I'll probably be working on the sweater. And so I wanted to just mention it as a plan because I think that this is a really beautiful sweater and I'm very excited to start making it. And my final plan, other than making a gnome for December, is Winter Soul by Adorable Knits, and I'll be buddy knitting this sweater with Leah Ambers, or Leah from Ruby and Pearls, and she also has a channel on YouTube. I'll definitely have it linked below. And I've been watching her videos. She puts a lot of different project ideas together too, so I've been getting a lot of inspiration from her roundups as well, her pattern roundups. And we'll be making the sweater together. We said that we'd start December 15th, and we've given ourselves until the end of January to make it. So this knit will probably be mostly done in January because I want to finish the other 2 plans first, but I'll definitely be knitting this. I'm super excited to knit it with a friend. So those are my December plans. I have a full month of making in front of me. The Holly sweater by Pernille Larsen that I've talked about a couple times has kind of fallen off the wagon just because I want to make these a little more, and so that will probably be done next year. And I want to also say that all of the knits that I had in my fall knitting plans that were priority, I think I've gotten to now. I am not putting out a winter knitting plan just because at this point in the month I already have my plans for December, and then for January I also have to plan out my 2026 Make 9 and all the January things. And since the last time I did one of these sit down videos, I do have a couple of acquisitions, so I'd like to share some of that. First is from Yarnbirds, and Yarnbirds is not local to me, but it's local to my friend Emily, and Emily and I were paired together in the winter sock swap that is hosted by La Mercerie, usually every year, but last year they skipped it. And so I'm so happy to have received this bag as well as the yarn that's inside, so I'll show you that. And ZZ Textiles is apparently local to Emily. They're based out of Ohio, and Emily said that the ZZ Textiles owner as well as Yarnbirds owner, I think they're friends, and so Yarnbirds is fully stocked with a lot of ZZ Textiles, and I'm excited to try this. This is the silk sock set in the color Freshwater, and it is 80% superwash merino and 20% silk, and it's a 2-ply yarn. The colors are so beautiful, and so I'm really excited to just see what I'm going to make with it. I haven't really been making socks since July, and so maybe I will start making socks again next year, who knows, but I'm just really excited to try this. And this comes with 400 yards of the full skein and 80 yards of the mini skein. And with my package, I also received a fudge as well as some peppermint bark for treats and some tea, and so thank you so much, Emily. I don't think she watches these videos, but thank you regardless, and I will definitely enjoy these. And along with the Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock worsted yarn that I bought at Tea Cozy Yarn Shop yesterday, I also picked up the Art of the Sea, which is from LYS Publishing, and this has 23 knitwear designs that were inspired or are inspired by Moomin. And Moomin is a character that I'll have on the screen for you. I'm sure you know what Moomin is, but if you don't, then you might have seen it around. So this book is quite heavy, it's quite hefty, and I was inspired to pick up this book because my friend Dani at DK Knits or DK Vlog on YouTube, she has test knitted the Moo Mellow sweater by Suman Kim, and it's a really nice large rib with a little bit of a cable, a big cable that just goes down the side, and it's so beautiful. And I've been seeing a lot of the designs from this book just on my Instagram and everything, so I've been meaning to pick it up. And I think I grabbed the last copy at Tea Cozy Yarn Shop, but I'm sure you could find it at your local yarn shop or somewhere that sells LYS Publishing. And so I've been looking through this, and the patterns on here are so beautiful. I think that I definitely want to knit some of these. I just don't know when, but I just love that I have the book so that I could flip through it and also get inspired. So these are the 2 objects that I bought at Tea Cozy Yarn Shop yesterday, and with that, it concludes everything that I usually talk about in these videos. However, I also want to take a little bit of time to talk about recap season and all the videos that I want to post in December in this month. And so first, we have the Make 9 recap that I've already posted, and so thank you if you've already watched that. And next, I also want to post about everything that I spent in 2025, as well as everything that I made in terms of accessories, as well as garments. And I know I've said this before, and I probably will say it in each of those videos, but all of my recaps really go from, except for Make 9, go from December 1st of 2024 until November 30th of 2025. And that's just because I like to wrap the year up in December, and that's just how my brain works. And then in January, I like to start fresh. And so I hope you don't mind these videos coming out a little earlier than I guess when you would usually see these videos come out. And so with that, that covers everything that I wanted to talk about in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a really great Thanksgiving if you are American, and I hope you're having a really great beginning of the holiday season. If you can, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.